unfiltered discussions, unexpected guests. No topic is off limits, from sex and relationships to the human condition, personal anxieties, and so much more. The only talk show of its kind in the world. This is The Last Show with David Cooper.
Hello, good Tuesday, good evening, and welcome. Our first order of business, an update from my cat. I know that's why most of you tune in. My tiny black cat Tomato he's got a sore above his eye. Kind of looks like a pimple. I sent a photo of it to a friend who's a vet. He says don't be worried. But me and my girlfriend are helicopter parents. We're going to take him to the vet. That's his update. I will keep you posted. Tonight's show. I'd be remiss if we didn't tell you about it. Here's what you're going to catch tonight. Strap into your time machine. We will go back into the past and get advice from our previous selves to review today. Yes, you will learn something. And yes, it's the most fun you're going to have all night on advice for your tomorrow self from yesterday, today. It's confusing. After that, we'll look at why people choose their leaders based on physical imagery, strength, strong men or women. We'd all like to think we choose who runs a country based on, their policies or whatever. But no, for a lot of us, it's a deep voice and muscles. That later in the hour. It's going to be a great lineup. That is merely a small cross-section of tonight's show. Later on, Tony 5 is going to be here with a Cockney rhyming slang rhymer. They say things like apples and pears to mean stairs. Some of the language is off the rails. Let's jump into the show.
Want to be part of The Last Show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
And in sweaty freedom and floppy news, the floppy will make sense in a second. Did you know about a charming little foot race in South Carolina where the only thing more exposed than the runners' hearts is, everything else, their whole body? That's right, it's called the Buck Creek Streak. Ooh, that rolls off the tongue nicely. And yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. A 5K run in the nude, in your birthday suit. Which raises the immediate question. Where do you pin the bib number? Actually, don't answer that. It's probably wherever you keep your car keys at, a key party. This annual event takes place at a nudist community nestled in the rural bliss of South Carolina. Now, before you get the idea wrong, let me be clear. This isn't some sleazy, secret, sexy thing. A nudist community, or naturist community, that hosts a race like this, is more like if wholesome Mr. Rogers started a running club and then told everyone, let's all be neighbors, but also let's be nipples. It's just about being nude, nothing more. Oh, and whatever happens to your body while you run. According to a longtime member of the community, they said of the race this: you can go anywhere and do a 5K, but you can't go anywhere and run a 5K naked. Because if you do, you're probably going to get arrested. And possibly end up on a watch list instead of at the finish line. But this is at a private resort where pants are optional. But community, that's mandatory. There are pools, pickleball courts, a DJ booth, enough darts to accidentally recreate a war crime, but still the main amenity, radical, clothes-free kindness. Family fun, if your family's a little different than other people's families. And people join communities like this for all sorts of reasons. One member of this particular one ended up at the resort after chatting with a stranger at a dinner. She was just trying to get a sandwich, but now she's married and fully committed to walking a life without tan lines. She left the table for ketchup and found the buns. So stupid. I guess that's our running gag now. Get used to it. Ketchup and buns. We're doing this. Another member of the resort opened up about surviving breast cancer and spoke about how now showing nudity isn't about showing off, but showing up. When she returned after surgery wearing a smiley face sticker on her chest, everyone at the resort joined in solidarity. Honestly, that's kind of beautiful. There's this deeply egalitarian idea at the heart of naturism. Once the clothes come off, so do the assumptions. You can't tell if someone's a high-powered CEO or a janitor based on what they're wearing. You judge people by their character, not their khakis. Now back to the 5K. These naked races aren't rare. There are dozens in North America because nothing says personal best like chasing a stranger through a forest while both of you look like you're fleeing a cursed spa retreat. Or is it cursed? Cursed? I guess I could look that one up. Now, if you're thinking in earnest that you might want to join such a race to feel free, there is a background check, at least at this community, which is good because the last thing you want in a naked foot race is someone who isn't there for the running. Also, you have just until the end of the month to sign up for the thing, at which point the entry fee goes up, proving that even in naked utopia, there's still inflation. So yes, Nudist 5K, it's wholesome, it's weird, it's sweaty, it's floppy, it's kind, it's inclusive. And if nothing else, it answers the age-old question, what if the real finish line was the friends we made along the way, who also happened to be wearing nothing but shoes and a race bib, hopefully not pinned to their body, maybe tied around their thigh. And at the end of the race, they celebrate with ketchup and buns. Ketchup and buns. I told you it would be a running gag. Get it? Because you catch up to the people in the race, and they got their buns. Their buns are showing. Ketchup and buns. Okay. And in pop culture news about a rising pop singer who no one has heard anything about, Jennifer Lopez, a little-known up-and-comer with a modest 250 million people following her on social media, is being sued for posting pictures of herself. That's right. Not naked pictures, not someone else's pictures. It's not some sort of smear campaign she's engaged in. She just put pics on the internet of herself existing. Oh, she was wearing a dress. Not sure that's relevant. It would seem that if you're Jennifer Lopez and you attend a Hollywood party, wearing enough white to confuse the doves at a wedding, and then you post a picture of yourself in that same outfit, you don't own the photo. No, the copyright belongs to the man who hid in a shrub and yelled your name like he was summoning Beetlejuice. That's right, the paparazzi photographer. Anyway, this one particular paparazzi, papal. This particular photographer claims Lopez used his precious images commercially, which just means she posted them with the following caption, GG Weekend Glamour. She tagged a fashion designer, and somehow that's intellectual property theft now. The paparazzi agency representing the photographer is now seeking up to $150,000 for each photo that Lopez posted. They say her posting the photos helped boost her own engagement and promoted her own brand partnerships. Because J.Lo's brand lives or dies based on whether you see her in a faux white fur coat outside of some party on social media. The wild part here, though, there might be something to this lawsuit. According to copyright law, even if the photo is of your face, your legs, and your dignity evaporating into the flashbulbs, the ownership of it belongs to whoever snapped it. Or whomever snapped it. Whomever. It's the legal equivalent of someone breaking into your house, taking a picture of your bed, and then suing you when you repost it with the caption, Netflix and chill. Side note, for a first message, when you match with someone on a dating app, don't just send Netflix and chill ? I mean, a friend told me not to do that. Back to the story, Lopez's reps allegedly agreed to settle this with payments but haven't signed anything yet. Maybe because they're laughing. And honestly, this is not her first rodeo. She has been sued for this exact same thing before. It would seem every time Jennifer Lopez breathes near a lens, a lawyer gets its wings. And yes, in case you're wondering, other celebrities have fallen to the same trap as well. Dua Lipa, Gigi Hadid, Khloe Kardashian. It's a whole secret club. Well, maybe not so secret club. In conclusion, you can wear the dress, you can attend the party, you can smile for the camera, but you don't own your memory. Thanks, copyright law. Oh, it's paparazzo. That's the singular of paparazzi. Paparazzo. Yes, I knew it. After the break, do you suffer from poor sleep hygiene? Well, maybe your past self could tell your today's self to do a better job sleeping. We've got the time machine and the technology. And our foreign correspondent, Tony Five in London, England, will be advising himself today from yesterday to sleep better on advice for your tomorrow self from yesterday. Today, it's confusing, but it'll make sense, I promise. That up next. I'm David Cooper. This is, well, it's not the first show, It's The Last Show.
Advice for your tomorrow self from yesterday, or maybe from today for tomorrow. If you're confused, you're not alone. This is what happens on The Last Show with David Cooper and Tony Five.
Such a dystopian theme. I love that intro music. Should our show just be jingles, Tony?
As you know, David, we're always jingle heavy, content light.
Yeah.
Which is like the sort of underlying show feature. More jingles can't hurt, and it can't make this any worse.
I agree. It can't get any better than this.
But first, good day, David. Good day, world. How are you?
I am well, Tony Five, foreign correspondent from London, England, who definitely does foreign corresponding. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Actually, very good. And the reason I'm better than normal and very good is to do with my advice that I said to myself yesterday for tomorrow, which was today. So it all ties up, David. One would think that I practice this, but I don't.
Don't practice anything. For those just tuning in to advice for your tomorrow self from yesterday, today, I will explain what this is today, right now, I think.
I mean, you have to explain, David, otherwise people don't really get it. But when you do that really simple explanation, people get it straight away, right? It's like a Rubik's Cube.
It's totally not confusing at all. We record advice for ourselves yesterday. But yesterday it would have been today for us. And then we play that.
Yeah, but it was yesterday.
Yeah, it was yesterday that you recorded some advice for yourself.
But you're playing it tomorrow.
No, yes, from the perspective at the time that you recorded it yesterday, I'm playing it tomorrow, which is today now. Now it's today.
Yeah, but it's not tomorrow because tomorrow there'll be something else. So we're going to play it today, right?
Yeah, right now we are now. Like this is this moment. It's not the moment from yesterday. But when it was yesterday, we were going to speak to our tomorrow self today.
I think this was the original lyrics to Yesterday by the Beatles. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know. Some, these record executives, they mess with
Just toned it down. They cut it down.
They chopped up the whole song into something completely different. The sentiment was lost. So we'll play Tony's advice from yesterday now, and then we'll see whether you followed your advice from yesterday today.
Go for it, baby.
All right. Here's Tony's advice for himself from yesterday to be played today, which is tomorrow. I'll stop talking.
Hello, this is my advice for tomorrow that I'm recording today for tomorrow, which will be today, tomorrow. And weirdly enough, I've just finished talking to you, David. I'm walking down the stairs, just left my little home studio. And after we spoke, we have a little conversation every now and again. We had a long conversation about sleep and how really important it is for mental health. And I don't think you didn't lecture me or moan at me or grind at me, but you were telling me how important it is and some techniques to do it. One of which is literally putting my phone as far away from me as possible and not being distracted by it. I think the other night I'd sent you a message at 4 a.m. and you weren't concerned, but you know that it's not good behavior. So I think tonight, my advice for myself tonight, which I'll hopefully talk about tomorrow, will be to see if I can really try and do a sleep, even if I'm sitting there, I think you said monitor my breathing, be mindful of my breathing or count. I'm going to do that. And I know if I fail, if I call you up, if we speak tomorrow and I haven't done it, you're not going to think any bad of me or any worse of me than you already do. And I'll try it. So I think I'm going to make a very concerted effort to work on that. And I'm going to do that tonight. And that's my advice for tomorrow's self today. And there's nothing in my fridge at the moment either. All right. Anyway, see you later. Bye-bye.
That's good advice. Yeah, after the show last night, I hung around and we had a serious conversation about your sleep hygiene.
Absolutely.
You just came from a depressive episode that lasted many months.
A severe depressive episode that one of the details of it is that I don't sleep. I've never slept very well, but obviously when you're in that condition, you sleep even worse, which turns into a vicious cycle. So I'm constantly next to my phone. So it's like TikToking, messaging. If I have lame ideas for this show, I want to get on a note. I am awful. And you've pointed it out so many times. Put your phone away, turn off the blue light, make sure you're in a cold environment, dark environment, wear an eye mask, all of these wonderful things. Which is true. It's like, I think in the UK it's called sleep hygiene, which I guess it's called that everywhere, right? It's like having good sleep hygiene. A lot of people don't realize how important sleep is, the restorative sleep. And if you're prone to any sort of mental health or even physical health conditions, it can like really have an effect. P.S. I was going to say, I sound really sexy on the recordings.
Yeah, you sound a little bit sexy right now also.
Oh, I've got a husky voice. Yeah, can you hear it?
Yeah.
I'm going to try keep doing that.
So I always preach plugging the phone away from the bed when you go to bed. I don't think you shouldn't doom scroll. If you want to scroll on your phone and waste time, fine. But when it's sleep time, try your best not to. But your justification for why you're kind of addicted to your phone and stay up all night on your phone is that you're going to miss out. You know?
Yeah, it's the FOMO. We said that yesterday. It's like, what if I miss something at stupid o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, like you get an idea and you need to write it down, or there's an emergency and you got to respond to it, or some news happens and you need to know. And this was kind of your mentality. And let me toot my own horn.
You toot it, baby, toot it.
Or horn my own toot. I don't know what that means. Not important. I feel like I get these lessons from going to therapy twice a week for many years, and I give my friends the benefit of my therapy. So I'm not even sure this is my lesson. But this idea of like, oh, I'm going to miss something out, and that's why I engage in a negative behavior.
Yep.
And changing the frame to like, here's what you're going to miss out if you keep doing that.
Yes.
And I was like, you're going to set yourself up for negative mental health if you're underslept.
Yeah.
And what you're going to miss out from is like, being stable, not having another depressive episode, being fresh every day, being sharp with your thinking, feeling well rested. I really do feel, for me at least, positive mental health stems from good sleep. And you're going to miss out potentially on that if you go on your phone. So the challenge, the kind of like therapist challenge, is a new way of looking at the same thing. And rather than saying, I have fear of missing out of what might happen on my phone, here's what I'm going to miss out from if I go on that phone. And it's like, I'm an alcoholic.
Yes.
Here's what I'm going to miss out from if I drink.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Rather than thinking I need to be drunk to have fun.
Yes.
It's more like, what am I going to miss? So I said that to you. Was that impactful, or am I just tooting my own horn?
Well, I pushed back because of one of my delirious episodes where I couldn't sleep. I did think up advice for yesterday's tomorrow. So we wouldn't have had this golden moment had I not slept. So that, my friend, is like Schrodinger's dog, right?
You know what? But if it was so good, you probably would have woken up in the morning and remembered it.
No, when I get up, I play with my
That's your dog. Nothing inappropriate. Get your head out of the gutter.
Oh, I don't have a dog. But so, I mean, do you want to know what happened? We haven't even said. You've just...
Yeah. Here I am preaching. Yeah. How was your sleep?
For God's sake, so self-centered and stuck in your own hole. Right.
I know.
Basically, I did exactly what you said. I went one better. I left my phone downstairs, not even out of reach, which is what you suggested. I left it downstairs. So I texted my mum and I said, look, not gonna have my phone tonight. If you need me, call me and I'll hopefully hear it from downstairs. But if you don't, whatever. She's like, okay. And I took a new sleeping tablet, which has got no side effects. It's a brand new thing on the market. I opened all my windows, closed all my blinds. It was dark, and put a sleep mask on. And I had probably the best night's sleep I'd had definitely this year, at least. Like 6 hours.
It's all because you tried, rather than telling yourself this narrative, oh, I'm Tony.
No.
I can't sleep.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I did it because I trusted you.
What do you mean you tried?
No, I did it because I trusted you. I didn't do it because I tried, and because that's not really me. I did it because you said how impactful it was for you and how it made a massive difference for you. And then I thought about really literally what you said, like, what am I going to miss out on the other side if I don't sort out my sleeping? And then that kind of made sense.
I don't know why you're saying you didn't try. You did try. Everything you did was you trying, and you actually tried and you succeeded.
Yeah, I guess so. But I think it was like, don't get me wrong, you're not the first person to say that, but you're the first person I've listened to. Doctors have said it. My mum's told me. My friends have told me. People I've met on Tinder have told me. So, I would take their opinion over yours any day. I don't listen to you at the best of times, right?
He doesn't listen to me at the best of times. He doesn't listen to me at the worst of times. His name is Tony Five.
Nobody listens, David. That's the underlying thing, even the audience.
His name's Tony Five. He's our foreign correspondent. When we come back, more advice from our past selves today. If you've got advice for your past self, give us a call. The number's coming up right now.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644. Advice for your tomorrow self from yesterday, or maybe from today for tomorrow. If you're confused, you're not alone. This is what happens on The Last Show with David Cooper and Tony Five.
I'm back, Tony Five, foreign correspondent extraordinaire on this show. And it's David's turn to give me his advice from yesterday, tomorrow, that he did yesterday, that he's going to play me today, which for him was tomorrow, but for me, he probably did yesterday. Really simple. If you don't get it by now, listeners, I don't think you ever will.
It's not confusing at all. I'm David Cooper here with Tony Five. We record advice for ourselves from yesterday, and then we play it today and see if we followed the advice. Actually, I think I just explained it straightforwardly.
Did you?
I guess.
I mean, it does happen. I mean, what is it? A broken clock is right 4 times, isn't it?
Yeah, even a broken clock is worthless and should be thrown away. That's what they say.
Yeah, and sold on eBay.
Yeah.
That's the saying, isn't it? A broken clock should be sold on eBay. Anyway, carry on.
And then when the person complains to eBay, you as the seller lie, committing fraud, and say, I sold it to them and it was working. That's what a broken clock is.
Investigated by the IRS.
Yep.
Go to prison. And all because of a broken clock that should have been right, but was wrong 6 times.
And if you go to prison, free meals. They feed you for free. I mean, that's a good deal.
And they have clocks that work.
I assume. I mean, they got to lock the cells when they put you in at night. If you want to be a part of advice for your tomorrow self from yesterday, if you want to talk to yourself from the past on this show, call us 1-888-505-6644. That's 1-888-505-6644. Our line is open. If it's not open, just record advice for your yesterday self. We'll call you back. Tony.
I mean, David, that is probably one of the best deals I've ever heard. The only other one is when the Colonel did like a 2-piece chicken bucket. That was a really good deal. But apart from that, this is a fantastic deal.
All right, here's my advice from my yesterday's self from today. I'll just play it. David, here is some advice for your tomorrow self from yesterday, today. But today will be tomorrow, which is today. If someone's listening to this, it's today for them, but my today is yesterday. You were speaking with a back surgeon at a party last night. I mean, tonight, but last night for you now, tonight for me. I don't know why he was willing to talk to you because he was like a normal, productive adult, but that's besides the point. He told you your posture stunk and that you should do something about it. I'm like, I probably won't. We made friends and he sent you this text message the next day. Keep hunching forward and you can have a first seat row to your own medical adventure if you're lucky enough to need human carpentry. I can imagine many ways you can rearrange your bones. I can screw you, nail you, drill you, and fuse you. So don't fix your posture. Why bother? Surgery's not expensive anyway. I mean, he was gay and he was hitting on me, but Miranda, my girlfriend, was there too. So I think but he was like, basically, rather than saying you need to fix your posture, he was like, don't. Yeah. You'll just need surgery. No big deal.
This guy sounds like the life of the party. He sounds amazing. So he walked up to you and said that your posture stunk. You'll probably need some sort of major intervention surgery at some stage of your life, and that he would quite happily do it for you if he wasn't trying to have sex with you.
I don't know that he was trying to have sex with me. He was just being kind of like friendly. But yeah, I haven't done anything about my posture. I didn't listen to my advice, but I got to do something. My back's starting to hurt. I've hunched over my whole life. I'm 38.
Oh.
My grandmother was like 2'8" by the time before she died. She was like basically shaped like a U. I got to do something about this, Tony.
Oh, maybe we can invite Dr. Back on the show and like get him to talk to you about your back with me, and I can interpret all the medical dialogue. I'm really good like that. I got a back surgery Groupon maybe a couple of years ago that I've never really redeemed, so I could do that next week.
Fair enough. Yeah, maybe we could have him on.
Yeah, I think it's good. How did you feel? Did you feel like you were criticized? Did you go home and look at yourself in the mirror?
You know, I kind of think the worst of myself.
Okay.
Socially. I'm like constantly embarrassed to be alive.
Okay.
And I'm embarrassed to tell you that I'm embarrassed to be alive. So when I don't fit in or someone is rude or makes fun of me, it just kind of confirms the narrative I tell myself, which I know is dark and ugly and I should probably work on, and I have. But so no, I just thought it was funny.
You see the therapist twice a week. What do you talk about? Or do you just go for like pizza?
I've been to therapy so much, Tony. Often I just work on my relationship with my therapist in therapy.
Right.
Yeah,
Nice. You not thought of Tinder or Bumble for that? It's way cheaper, dude.
Yeah.
Way cheaper.
When you go to when you go to a shrink for long enough, eventually you just start working on your relationship with your shrink.
Yes.
I mean, it's often a metaphor for your childhood and your traumas and all, your relationship with your parents. But, on its face.
But isn't that the time when you're meant to leave your therapist because the professionalism has broke down and there's no more therapy anymore? Or is it part of the journey?
No, I think working on your relationship with your therapist is a metaphor for working on your relationship with your mother, or at least it is for me. So
didn't you go fishing with your mum? So like you'll have to go fishing with your therapist.
I go fishing with my dad, and maybe I'll invite my therapist for the next fishing trip.
I mean, again, that's boundaries, isn't it? Isn't it like limiting your boundaries?
Yeah, I don't think it's weird to confront your therapist about your relationship with them. I think that's like a normal part of therapy.
Okay, but you went swimming with her last week.
What is this trying to derail me with these jokes? They aren't working, Tony.
I just wonder, like, how close you are to your therapist. I wonder if you go sit, and rather than sitting, like, on a couch or face-to-face, you're just sitting next to her or lying next to her on, like, a double sofa. You just made me think that.
I see a man now. I saw a woman for many years. When we met, I saw a woman, but I moved to a man, like, a few years ago.
David, therapists can be men.
I know.
David.
I know.
It's the 1960s. Therapists can be men.
I hate you so much. Do you have any things with your body that like you haven't taken care of your whole life, and then it's like,
oh God,
when you hit late 30s, early 40s, it comes to roost? Because I feel like that's what's happening to me right now.
Bro, I'm a diabetic. I could have just ingested sugar all my life. My back, I did martial arts for such a long time that I've got bruises and bones and everything aches. Having not moved for 6 months, like everything is just aching now. And it's not recovering. I would just like jump over stuff and fall over stuff and run. It never hurts. And now it does. Now I make noises when I bend over and when I pick stuff up.
Yeah.
And it's just horrific.
Oh man, I can't tie my shoelaces without going, ugh.
Yeah, it's just awful. But I think that's just like the journey of age, right? You just do that.
When you're a little kid, you can run headfirst into a brick wall and just like dust off your scrapes, put a Band-Aid on and go about your life. As an adult, I like get out of bed the wrong way and I'm sore for a week.
Dude, if something just I would like run, like you said, run into stuff. I remember when I jumped headfirst into a sofa and I thought I'd paralyzed myself. I thought I did because I couldn't feel anything, but then I was better. It was weird. I had like full body paralysis for like 10 seconds. And then I was fine. Like, that's how cool I was. But now, I mean, just talking to you, I feel like I'm going to fall into a coma.
Yeah, well, that's something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, growing old, it's all this.
Growing old sucks, right?
Yeah, and I'm like 38, so I like am just on the cusp of it.
But you are like an old man in a young body, aren't you?
Well, yeah, but I'm just staring down the barrel of my 40s. I'm like that youthful, I can do anything with my body and it's not going to hurt is like, I'm at the cusp of it going away.
Like, I'm 47 and I should really be walking around wrapped in bubble wrap.
Yeah, bubble boy. Man.
Yeah, just like walking around, and it's horrible. Now you've really brought this show down.
All right. I'm gonna text back this back doctor and be like, do you know anyone? Like, because he does surgeries. He's not gonna help me like slightly correct my posture. But you know what? That's my advice for my like next month self.
But isn't that like an osteopath or physiotherapist?
I don't know. I don't even know what this person is, but I got to see something. Like maybe a physical therapist or something?
Yeah, physio.
Yeah.
Because they'll give you exercises to straighten yourself up. Maybe give up a radio show.
No, can't do that.
Yeah, fair enough. Stay like a hunchback then, baby.
Got to hunch into my microphone, or else who will? Tony 5, foreign correspondent in London, England. Tony, I don't know what we just did for the last 10 minutes, but I do know I enjoyed every minute of it.
David, foreign correspondent. Medical intervention. We do everything here.
We do it all. All right, there he goes, Tony 5, who's going to be back here in about 30 minutes' time when we talk to a Cockney rhyming expert. That's that weird British dialect where they pick odd words to describe things, like baked bean means queen because bean rhymes with queen. I don't understand it, but we'll go over it, and it's going to be a riot with a genuine Cockney in just about 30 minutes. But here's what you're going to hear after the break. You would hope that when you look to a leader, you pick them because of their policies or whatever. Not because of their perceived physical strength. Well, that has more of an impact on who we choose to rule us than you might think. Details with someone who studied this in just a few moments. And ask yourself, would you pick a strong man or strong woman to lead your country or not?
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644. The last show with David Cooper. Procrastinate your life away with us.
We'd all like to think about ourselves that we choose our leaders, we elect our leaders based on the real stuff, the policy. But what does make someone look like a leader to us? How much does their physical strength shape how much we like them, shape our political preferences? A new study suggests our biases run a little deeper than we think they do. I am joined with someone who worked on that study. His name is Dr. Mitch Brown. He's a psychological science instructor and researcher at the University of Arkansas. Mitch, thanks for joining me today.
Happy to be here.
Why do you think physical strength plays a role in how we judge leadership? I'd like to think that I don't even care what a candidate looks like, but maybe I subconsciously do.
Yeah, so in this instance, with those leadership qualities, in the end, we have, thousands, even millions of years of evolution kind of directing, ways to make sure that we can survive, ultimately reproduce. And in some of those instances, historically at least, a lot of our environments tended to be, fairly hostile, fairly competitive, and we oftentimes wanted to hedge our bets in a way. So choosing individuals to be our leaders who could potentially improve our chances of surviving and reproducing themselves. So one route this could actually happen could be inferring somebody's leadership capability based on what we perceive them as being able to represent our group, either to gain resources, protect us from enemies, to enforce group rules. In this instance here, physical strength may actually be one of those cues. So even if it may not necessarily be putatively diagnostic of somebody's actual leadership qualities, we had this heuristic saying, oh yeah, this guy can totally win in a fight. Looks like they can hold their own, and in turn then maybe we reap some downstream benefits of this person just to being able to be the proverbial Chad in that situation, and we all benefit essentially from it.
So what you're saying is like when we were our ancestors, if that makes sense, like, greater apes, monkeys, these kinds of things, strength really did play a role in who was the leader of the group. And this runs kind of deep in our evolutionary history.
Absolutely, yeah. So historically, in humans or primates in general, social status hierarchies are oftentimes shaped around who could ostensibly win in competitions. Now, it is a little bit more complicated than that. There are other things that are important too. We can make the distinction between someone who wants to lead through dominance versus through prestige. But in the case of dominance, primarily, those who have strong fighting abilities, they would ostensibly have, greater control over resources, greater access to resources. And in turn, then they may be able to ascend the status hierarchy much more easily. And in turn, they're the ones who may also be calling the shots by virtue of the fact that they can win in competitions, and we may view some kind of benefit for us probably if we have them in these leadership positions.
I guess this would explain the cheesy AI-drawn, generated images shared by people who follow a certain politician in the U.S. This politician's a little bit older. He may or may not be the president, and these images show him like very muscular. Is that what some people look for in a leader? And if so, who?
So in this case here, with looking for strength in a leader, some people actually look for it specifically. Not necessarily everyone. There's some research suggesting that conservatives tend to use strength as a heuristic to say someone could be effective as a leader. There's myriad research showing that cues of strength, whether it be through facial structures, bodily structures, maybe even your vocal pitch, so a big, deep, booming voice, those individuals could ostensibly be seen as better leaders, at least in the minds of more conservative perceivers, likely because these individuals may be seen as more competitive, better able to protect, and in some instances, conservatives may tend to view these individuals as better able to align with what their broad social goals tend to be. Conversely, we could consider this as more liberal individuals. They tend to be less inclined to use those heuristics just because these individuals don't actually align with some of their, the basis to their moralities. Sometimes these individuals may not necessarily favor social policies that they would favor themselves. So in a lot of these instances, it's very context dependent, based around the individual. So sometimes a strong leader can be perceived as especially important, and this can kind of map onto the psychological calculus of more conservative leaning individuals. But again, there are still many pros and cons depending on who you are as to what constitutes a good leader based on physical strength.
Do you think our kinds of unconscious biases, whether we be left-leaning or right-leaning, could affect real elections? Like someone maybe votes someone subconsciously based on their jawline or their biceps or by, I don't know, photos of them wrestling a bear. I'm thinking of another world leader who may or may not lead Russia. I know we say we go just based on policy, but do you think these biases actually come to play in elections?
Oh, no, certainly. Yeah, there actually is evidence at this point here that real-world elections can actually be shaped by these so-called peripheral cues. So I'm not necessarily going to say that they're unconscious per se. It's just that these are cues that are not directly related to somebody's actual effectiveness as a politician. So even though someone is incredibly strong, someone's a real tough guy kind of situation, that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll ultimately be a good leader in every situation. It's just that we have some kind of broad stereotype that could just inform to say, in many broad contexts, someone may actually be seen as more effective. So again, there is some evidence showing that more conservative-leaning countries, more conservative-leaning populists, they will actually prefer these cues, essentially because they heuristically associate them with effectiveness. So again, it's largely irrelevant to the direct issue, but at the same rate, though, I would still say that people are ultimately using these cues beyond what the actual true signal value is of the feature.
So let's get into your study where you surveyed people on this stuff. Did participants say things like, I'd vote for this guy because he looks like he could bench press all of U.S. Congress? Like, what were people saying, and how did you infer that they might act on these subtle cues?
Well, so in this case here, big reminder for everyone, this is a U.S. sample. These U.S. participants were also in a situation where I asked them scale 1 to 7, 1 being not at all likely, 7 being very likely. How likely would you be to vote for this person to be president? And in this case here, I showed individuals, men who are either physically strong or physically weak. And what I saw broadly is, and this is simply just on the level of just a pure categorical difference, strong men were preferred over weak men, simply just based on that 1 to 7 scale. And at the same rate, too, these perceptions of strong men were pretty consistently showing that they were seen as stronger than the weak men. So one could potentially say that there is a degree of covariance between these perceptions broadly. I didn't necessarily task them to say why they would have voted for these individuals just yet. Maybe that'll be a bit of a linguistic study in the future, but in this case here, there tended to be, a bit of covariation between perceptions of their actual strength and the likelihood that they would want to vote for this person.
High level, what takeaway would you want people to get from this study? How can we work against our internal biases so we vote for individuals in a more well-rounded way than purely based on looks?
So in this case here, I think one way that we could go about doing this here, and this is something that's been a broad question a lot of my research here actually. So we're competing with so many thousands, millions of years of evolution where selection favored individuals who would perceive a social target and make a really snap decision that could be a matter of life and death. And in this case here, there are these major benefits, trying to identify leaders who can protect us, provide resources, find a mate potentially. But at the same time, though, these ideas will bleed into other concepts. So I've done research in the past showing that we tend to view these men with wide faces as less prone to psychological disorders. And people use these heuristics to say that these individuals are mentally healthier, even though that's not necessarily how you diagnose individuals with psychological disorders. Why are we using appearances? Yet it's something that runs that deep. In this context here, my research is pivoting to where I could do some kind of intervention where I make individuals recognize that these biases could potentially exist. They're formed by millions of years of evolution. So in this case, the people may be less prone to these peripheral cues and focus more on what the actual issues are. So applying these topics from these psychological disorder cases, I would be quite enthusiastic, I guess, to understand how this may actually translate into a voting context. Are we actually able to override these very functional yet imperfect perceptions? This that way we may be able to focus on the issues. Maybe in this case, you're tell individuals about the bias, maybe have them focus on the actual issues more broadly, and just potentially highlight the fact that upper body strength, no matter how reliable and how helpful it could have been, and may still be in some instances, it's not some beacon of truth for everything.
Well, Mitch, thanks for going over your study with me. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Oh, thank you so much. It was a pleasure for me.
Dr. Mitch Brown is a psychological science instructor and researcher at the University of Arkansas. After the break, if you take a look at your friends at your social circle, they might have similar beliefs to you. But I think a lot of us idealize having friends that can believe different things than us. Maybe if you're a lefty, you got righty friends. Maybe if you're a righty, you guessed it, you got lefty friends. But what if there are downsides to that? For example, this bizarre finding. If you consider yourself open-minded to having friends with different beliefs than you, that means you're open-minded to believing news that isn't true. Does that mean if you're less polarized, you're more likely to be gullible? That can't be right. I got a lot of questions about this, and we'll answer them in just a few moments.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644. The Last Show with David Cooper, where we utilize non-linear reverse, inverse, backward thinking protocols. It sounds like this.
We often think of people who are friends with folks across the political spectrum, having a social circle with right-leaning and left-leaning people. We think of them as evolved, open-minded, wise, maybe even immune to the worst parts of polarization. But what if that actually makes you more gullible? I'm here with political scientist in Washington, D.C., Dr. Paul Platzman, to explain a study that shows just this. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
What exactly is meant by political diversity in a social network, in terms of like looking into it for study? And how do you even measure that?
Sure. So political diversity effectively means possessing a variety of either partisans or political opinions in an individual's social network. So I measure this in a couple of different ways. First, I relied on nationally representative survey data that asked individuals, if you had to decide how much of your social network is composed of Democrats or Republicans, what would you say that split is? And folks who say that they have roughly an equal proportion of Democrats and Republicans are categorized as having more political diversity than folks who say, I have exclusively Democrats in my social network, or I have exclusively Republicans in my social network. Another way I measured it in additional studies that I conducted was I sort of asked people directly, think about those who you've spoken about politics or government or elections with over the past 6 months. How different were their opinions from one another? Not different at all, somewhat different, extremely different, etc. So I come at this from a variety of angles and find that in general, folks who report having more political diversity in their networks tend to express more belief in the accuracy of information that they encounter on the internet regarding politics.
Yeah, anecdotally, like my personal view, I've got my own political views, but I see it as a good thing to be able to get along with people with different views than you. I would see that person as like, I don't know, more well-adjusted. This seems counterintuitive that people who are that way are more likely to trust what they see online, even if it's false. Why do you think that is?
So I think that there's been a good amount of research on this over the last couple of decades, and a narrative has sort of emerged about the purported benefits of having political diversity in one's individual network. And I don't dispute or discount those findings, which, for example, show that the more diversity you encounter, the more tolerant you are of other people's viewpoints, the more political knowledge you have, et cetera, the more capable you are at explaining other people's positions. What I find here, though, is that it's not the case that everything that comes along with having a politically diverse network is necessarily beneficial. So if you believe more of the information that you encounter, it comes with it comes with a trade-off, right? You're not going to doubt factually accurate information, but you may be susceptible to falling prey to information that is factually dubious. Why do I think that relationship exists? Well, I find that people who have politically diverse networks tend to be more trusting in general and more trusting of a wide array of civic and social institutions and features. They're more trusting of government. They're more trusting of other people. They're more trusting of the news. They're more trusting of, particular institutions in the United States, be it the CDC or the FBI or the integrity of elections. So they're generally more trusting. The drawback materializes when you consider the online information environment, and that not everything that exists online, as we all know, is factually sound.
Is there a sweet spot here, like a level of political diversity amongst friends that kind of promotes tolerance of your friends' positions and understanding without people making people more gullible? Or is this just like a trade-off that most people make without knowing?
So I think that to use a little bit of political science speak here, the relationship is linear, which is to say that there's not necessarily this optimal middle ground that can be achieved. It seems to be the case that the more diversity you report having, the more likely you are to be trusting of content you encounter. So I think rather than trying to identify a sweet spot, what maybe tech platforms or other fact-checking, sort of engagement operations need to do is deploy messages a little bit more specifically and in selective cases. So, for example, they might want to remind individuals that they, exist in a politically diverse network before providing information about, let's say, a voter registration drive or upcoming election dates, but steer clear of it when trying to dissuade people from, falling prey to some inaccurate information. I also think that leveraging sort of the benefits of network diversity and trust in specific sources could be beneficial in certain cases. For example, if instead of telling somebody that a piece of information is true or false on the internet, you say, "Hey, this individual whom you trust, whom you believe in, thinks that finds this information credible." And so I think there are ways to sort of optimally manage and deploy this phenomenon rather than finding individuals who possess a certain sweet spot level of diversity in their network.
Could learning about educating oneself about how not to fall prey to mis and disinformation online, false information online, could trying to figure out how to do that help inoculate us from this? Or are we just kind of doomed? If we got diverse friends, this is the way it's going to be.
No, I think that there are certainly benefits to taking media literacy trainings or being more mindful of the nature of content that exists online. I think that's a general trend, and that's going to be helpful for folks who either have politically diverse networks or who don't. I think what's important to realize is that those who have politically diverse networks are just likelier to be at a higher baseline level of trust than those who have less diverse networks.
There's this weird implication here, and it kind of makes me a bit sad that people that do not have politically diverse friends are better at not falling victim to false news reports. Is this like a true conclusion? It's kind of a weird conclusion to come at.
Yeah, I think it is, but I think that's only half the story. The other half of the story is they're not as likely to believe information that is true, right? So they're just more skeptical in general. And so I don't think that having or not having a politically diverse network is inherently beneficial or not beneficial. We just have to recognize that there is a trade-off. And I think this trade-off is what hasn't been sort of brought to light before.
If there's one takeaway you want anyone listening to this, whether they have politically diverse friends or not, one takeaway from your paper and our conversation here, what would you want to communicate to people?
Well, I think one of the surprising findings from this paper is that the political diversity of your network is actually more influential over how much you believe in the accuracy of online content than a fact-checking label that might tell you a piece of content is true or is false. So while there are these very sort of overt technical interventions that are designed to influence people's beliefs online that have been in vogue over the last several years, they are not nearly as influential over your own psyche and your own approach to online information in the political realm. Your background characteristics, your social environment are going to be much more influential. And that's not something that folks necessarily need to seek to change, but being aware of it, I think, is a powerful realization.
So we shouldn't worry too much when major social media platforms remove those fact-checking labels. There's more at play here. They aren't the kind of be-all and end-all of helping people figure out false news.
I think that's correct. Now, those labels did have some influence. They would move people a couple of percentage points in one direction or another. But ultimately, they were not the be-all, end-all, like you said.
Paul, thanks for sharing your research with me. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Dr. Paul Platzman is a political scientist in Washington, D.C. Up next, someone who used to call the Queen baked bean, a Cockney rhyming slang rhymer. I'm David Cooper. This is The Last Show.
Smart, sharp, and slightly unhinged. Late night's fresh perspective. The Last Show with David Cooper.
Foreign correspondent Tony Five in London, England is here. Tony, welcome to the show.
David, can't wait for this segment. Oh my goodness. You're going to be educated, my friend. Edumacated is like I call it. Hello, world. Hello, David.
Speaking of edumacated, not everyone speaks English the same way, but one of its dialects, of them all, one reigns king for the most unintelligible for those who can't intelligate it or understand it. Cockney rhyming slang. It turns English into a riddle. Apples and pears mean stairs. Trouble and strife means wife. I know nothing else about it. Are these rhymers just messing with you? Do they sincerely talk like that? That we'll discuss with Dr. Amanda Cole, a sociolinguist lecturer at the University of Essex. Amanda, welcome in.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here today.
So, high level, what is Cockney rhyming slang? Tony was trying to explain it to me yesterday, but he just kept on talking about church bells. What is it? How did it come about? Tell me a little bit about it.
So it's, I guess, a form of slang that has origins in London. So basically, the principle of it is that a word or a phrase or, a section of words that rhyme with another word is used to represent it. So for instance, some classic famous ones like dog and bone represents phone. And then it can be abbreviated within that. So like dog can be said for phone.
Yeah, like David Cooper, he's a pooper, right?
So you would just call me Poop? Like, is that...
I would just call you Pooper, David Cooper.
All right.
Exactly. It's a famous Cockney phrase. Pooper, David Cooper.
Amanda, is there like an accent associated with it? Because when I picture it, I'm picturing like old-timey videos with this unintelligible accent to people who live in North America.
I mean, I guess unintelligible is relative, right? It wouldn't be to me. But yeah, so it's associated, I guess, with Cockney, which is a East London dialect. And it's probably one that's quite stereotyped. It's probably one of the more sort of famous accents or dialects from Britain. But yeah, that would be the spoken dialect that is associated with the slang.
Can you imitate the accent for us, or is it?
I mean, I think I actually already have it. But I don't think I've got to imitate it. I mean, I think probably because I'm talking to you and it's a little bit more formal, it's kind of a little bit pared back. But if you'd listen, you'd probably hear quite a few sort of Cockney features that I do produce. So things like saying well for W-E-L-L. If you hear, I probably say the L like a W, like a vowel sound. And that's like a classic feature of Cockney. As well as like T-glottling, so saying butter, better. Again, classic Cockney.
We spoke about this earlier, tea-gottling. I thought it was some sort of weird practice that people did, behind closed doors. Can you explain that, what tea-gottling is?
Is that the same as the dreaded glottal stop?
Yeah, it's exactly that. Yeah. So it's a glottal stop in place of a T, although I wouldn't necessarily say in place in the sense that it's less correct, but it's where a glottal stop, which is the sound produced in the throat by kind of closing the glottis, which is this whole, in the voice box.
I don't think we can say glottis on the radio, Amanda. That's a banned word. Yeah, we'll have to censor it.
Just for our North American audiences there, we'll censor that. Don't worry, Amanda. Carry on.
So wait, I find myself doing this being a Canadian who lived in California. Now I'm in New York. Before I moved here, I said Manhattan, and now I find myself saying Manhattan. Is that sort of a similar thing?
So there's T flapping and T tapping as well, which you'd more find in North America, which would be saying like better. So the T is more like the tongue taps at the top of the mouth and then comes back down. That's different to a glottal stop.
Absolutely fascinating. I always thought a glottal stop was something that you put on the top of a bottle, but I'm educated now, which is fantastic. I would say, and I was trying to explain to David, that the Cockney is kind of, for me growing up, and I don't know where you're from in England, but I'm from London, and it was kind of like East End gangsters, the craze, that sort of thing would have that sort of, it was almost menacing, wasn't it?
I guess that's one of the stereotypes of the dialects, right? Like, I guess all dialects, there are these different stereotypes and like personality traits or characters that are associated with it. And that is one that's associated with Cockney. But I think it's also one that, you know, people are kind of pushing back against.
Right.
Because, you know, it's this negative association with a dialect. Obviously, loads of people speak Cockney who have no criminal background, you know. Who
Absolutely.
It's like being here, like in New York. I live in an Italian neighborhood, and everyone's like, "Oh, you
Hey,
live."
I'm walking here. That's like, yay! I love a pizza pie.
I mean, they do that, but like this neighborhood's associated with gangsters, and it's probably mostly not true. It's this kind of negative stereotype.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you can hear it, David, but as I listen to Amanda, she does sound like someone near me starts going like, but you probably don't notice it. Can you tell the difference between the way we talk, me and Amanda, or not really?
I can, but only because I watch the Great British Bake Off. I feel like I know every accent in England and in Northern Ireland and Scotland and Wales, but only from that show. So there are a lot of these misunderstood, you know, stereotype features. I'm sure I said something earlier. I said it was unintelligible. It's because I'm unintelligent. But what are some of the more fun, more obscure rhymes or phrases that someone in North America would hear it and be like, what the is that?
Actually, just make him guess it first rather than telling him, because he's an idiot.
I am.
Well, I'm thinking, so my granddad did speak in rhyming slang. So I'm thinking of something he'd say. So like, tit for.
Tit for?
Tit for.
I know what that means.
Like tit for tat? Like I give you something, you give me something back?
Yeah. And what does it stand for?
I have no idea.
So hat.
Oh, so wait, I understood the original phrase, but I didn't know. Oh,
The rhyming.
oh okay, all right. Okay, so there's like one level of indirection here. It's like I know the original phrase, but not the thing that. Okay, what's the next one?
So my granddad used to talk about Gregory.
That's just some dude who lives across me in the building who I can't stand. What does Gregory mean?
So Gregory Peck would be neck.
What?
Gregory Peck, the actor, is Nick. You've never heard of Gregory Peck?
Should I have?
Do you not like? He's like a really famous sort of heyday silver screen actor. You know, like Clark Gable, that sort of thing.
I'll say yes to your question.
Amanda, I told you he's an idiot. He'd never get into the University of Essex.
I'm an idiot and I idiate. All right. Any others that are particularly odd or that when you hear you have to think about for a second?
I mean, there's some kind of famous ones. So say butchers. To have a butchers.
Have a butchers? I'm trying to think what rhymes with butchers. I don't even know.
Well, so you have to think of the full phrase, right? And then what rhymes with that?
Butcher's block.
Mm-mm.
And then block rhymes with rock. So I'll eat a rock. I don't know.
Butcher's look.
Butcher's look?
Butcher's look.
Yeah. So, for example, you know, if you see something, you say, give me a butcher's at that. And you're saying, let me have a look at that. Do you not get that, David?
I mean, kind of. It's all very foreign to me, I guess is the best way to put it.
All right, Amanda, give him a really good one on the outgoing. Let's just really confuse him.
Oh, okay.
It's not hard to do.
Minces?
Minces?
Minces.
Menzies? What?
David, she's actually speaking English at the moment, right? You do know that, yeah?
What is this? Minces? Like M-I-N-S-I-E-S? Mince? I don't understand.
I guess M-I-N-C-I-E-S.
I don't even know what the original word is.
So the full thing would be mince pies.
Okay.
So his eyes, Mincy's eyes.
So mince pies to Mincy's, Mincy's to eyes, and...
No, Mincy's is to mince pies. Mince pies rhymes with eyes.
I feel dumber for trying to understand this. It's too confusing for me, guys. But Amanda, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Oh, thank you very much.
Amanda, you've somehow increased my intelligence on this show. I'm usually the idiot. And what you've done is you've actually shown up David's sort of problems anyway, listening to English, which is great. Thank you so much. We'll have you back again next week.
Well, I'm glad I've been of assistance.
Dr. Amanda Cole is a sociolinguist lecturer at the University of Essex, and Tony Five is our foreign correspondent.
The sociopath.
I got a question for you. I'm sure you like to travel, and if you don't or you can't, you've got to have an annoying friend that says, I like to travel. That was a weird voice for me to choose. Anyway, when people go away, they're like out of their routine, away from their home base, and also their home base bathroom. And what do you do spending all that time away? Like, what do you mean when you say you go sightseeing? Are you doing that 24/7 for 7 days? Turns out when you actually drill into it, everyone's a little different, and some of us are odd. And what do people actually do when they take vacations? That's what we'll cover with a stand-up comedian. Should be a lot of fun in just a few moments.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644. The show that asks the questions other shows are afraid to ask. The Last Show with David Cooper.
People love to travel. But what the heck do you do when you're in a foreign place? I am curious. Everyone's a little different, and we'll discuss that with comedian Natalie Norman. Natalie, hello.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, so good. What a pleasure it is that you grace our show.
Thank you for having me on your radio show.
Oh, yeah. At the commercial break, you called it a podcast, and I lost my mind. I guess technically, and maybe I should sell it. And by sell, I mean just tell people about it. You can always listen to the show as a podcast. If you like what you hear and you just caught some of it or you're going to miss a night, just look up The Last Show on our website, which is www.lastshow.pizza. That's not .com, lastshow.pizza. Wow, I usually just sell the show alone, but here we are.
And should we talk about how upset you got when I called it a podcast?
Back before I was in quote unquote real media,
Yes.
anything I do calling it real is up for debate. I was a hobbyist and I had a podcast and it was on a radio station. I was living in San Francisco. No one listened to it. And I would have guests on and I would say, come to my podcast. This is my podcast. So then when we started taping and the show was live, if they called it a podcast, I would jokingly lose my mind and say it's not a podcast, it's a radio show. In fact, that was like the tagline for the show.
Okay.
So I don't know. It's like muscle memory, getting mad when people call it. But it was a joke then. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, but I don't think it was a joke now. You're like, I can see your face right now. And I've never seen you sad and mad at me.
I don't know why I'm mad, because it is also a podcast, and I love that the show is a podcast. It's an important part of the show, and anyone listening live should definitely, check out our podcast. So I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. I just get upset, Natalie. I get upset. You've heard me yell for no reason. Come on.
Yeah, but it's usually in a fun, jovial way.
It's not just I've had a long day. Natalie Norman. I get this too because I love traveling, but what do? You're just sitting in a hotel or an Airbnb or your friend's house in a foreign country in a city you know nothing about. You're supposed to just change your life to just be in travel mode. What does that even mean? What do people do when they travel?
Well, I've noticed over the years, I say, I'm going to see the sights.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, I'm really would like to go to Korea right now. South, not north. Want to make that clear.
I think going to north, it's not. You don't just book a flight. It's a whole thing to go to North Korea.
Anyways, I just want to make that clear. But when I say the sites, I'm talking about Olive Young, which is the largest Korean makeup store.
Okay, so you want to just do the things you like to do, but in a different place.
Yeah, I'm gonna go shopping. I'm gonna go. I have a long list. I'm gonna go to Hemiko. I have a list. And to me, the sites are the stores. I don't need to go to an art museum. I can see that online.
Yeah. I have been to London a couple times, and I just kind of skipped the touristy stuff. And I was there with my girlfriend 3 years ago, I think.
Okay.
We might have been 5 years ago. One of the times we were there, because we went twice. Maybe one was 6 years ago. Time doesn't matter. Time's an illusion. It's a social
It's not real.
Time's oppressing us. It's what the government's trying to sell us that we shouldn't buy.
Good.
Clocks aren't real.
Wow. This really went in from a radio show to a radio show in someone's basement.
Yeah. It doesn't get any better than this. I've been trying that out as a tagline. It's a joke. It literally does not get better than this. It's not good. And see what I did there?
Yes.
Okay. And we were someone was oh, have you been to Buckingham Palace? Have you seen Big Ben? Have you gone to Parliament? Have you seen the Tower of London? Da, da, da. And I hadn't really seen all these things. I just kind of skipped them. And I have a couple of friends that live there. I was just hanging with friends, going out to restaurants, just hanging. And so we decided that we would go on one of those tacky double-decker red tourist bus and dress like tourists and act like tourists and really get into it. And I gotta say, it was amazing.
That's crazy. Wild. That's wild.
Because I didn't want to like walk to all these museums and buildings and things and just to sit there and do nothing for 2 hours where some schmuck tour guide explains what everything is. And
some struggling comedian.
Yeah, actually, I know a stand-up comedian who does bus tours of the city she lives in.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I don't think that's struggling. I think that's thriving. To see it and see all the sights that I was never going to see. Like, I'm not going, what's that park by Buckingham? St. James Park, I think it's called. Like, I'm not going there. I'm not going to the Tower of London. I'm not going to see Big Ben if
what's so interesting is I've actually seen all those places.
Yeah. I just mean to do the touristy tour for like a half day and just sit there and let it all pass by you while you're in a bus is actually amazing. And I wholeheartedly recommend it in whatever city you're visiting.
So every time I come to New York, I always I say to myself, okay, I'm going to go to my sites, which are the Korean makeup stores on 2nd Avenue.
I'm seeing a recurring theme here.
And then I'm like, you know what? Maybe this time I'll go to the park.
Like Central or Prospect or what?
Central.
You've never been to Central Park?
No.
And you've been to New York how many times?
15, 20. I've never seen the Empire State Building. I've never seen the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, I've never seen that. I mean, I've boated by it, but I've never gotten off on the island.
I've never boated by it.
Yeah.
What else? There's anything above like 34th Street, I really haven't delved into. Like, I've been to Times Square, but I've been to Times Square because there's a lot of stores there.
Yeah, and musicals and plays and stuff. But yeah, I think you should do a bus tour of New York because then you can say you've done it all and it's just a half day. And then you don't have to feel guilty that you're missing, quote unquote, the sights as they're called by a lot of people.
Well, that's the thing. I don't feel guilty, but everyone likes to shame me. And I'm like, it's a park.
You know what? Having been, I don't really get it. I mean, I guess green space is good, but I got to schlep all the way up there. There's green space down here.
It's like, I got to go all the way up there to see the Verstinkene Park that I live in Toronto. We got parks on every corner.
They should rename it to Verstinkene Park.
Wait, I gotta stop everyone because everyone's mad that I haven't seen this park. I've been to Vietnam and I saw a park there where they had redwood trees that were hundreds of years old. It's not gonna beat that.
No, it's not. It's not.
So the Empire State Building? What if King Kong becomes real?
I mean, it's really pretty to look at, but actually inside in the lobby, it's got this wonderful Art Deco vibe going from like the late 60s, maybe 50s. I don't know when they did it.
I've been to LA.
You're right. You're not going to beat Art Deco vibes. But I do think there's something to just like seeing the list of things. So you feel like, the heart of a city. And I feel like I know London from being on one of those stupid buses in a way that I never would have gotten. And so I don't recommend spending your whole trip doing these things, but like take the quick tour.
I feel like those tours are for people, like I agree with you, maybe do one that's like 2 hours, but for the most part, it's like, do you have friends?
No.
Or do you have like a personality? Like,
no.
There's some tours I would like to do, and I'm going to make you, next time I come, I'm actually going to make you go on one. We're going to go on a food tour in Chinatown.
Oh, yeah. I'm in.
Like, that's fun, right?
Yeah. That's my kind of tour. Like when I travel, when I see the sights, like to me, that's eating. For me, travel is eating.
But that's what I'm saying. For me, it's like makeup. For you, it's eating. And we're the real people.
Yeah. It's like seeing friends, talking to locals and hanging out and eating. That's it. That's travel for me.
And maybe, not for you, but for me, maybe getting drunk one night.
Yeah. No, when I drank, bars were on the list. And I said, you know what? I will go to bars, but I'll like do karaoke. I'll do like a little more fun kind of. I love karaoke. Did you know that about me?
Yes, I do. You came and sang at my birthday party.
Oh, yeah.
Last year.
It was really funny. I was like singing in the background, being really funny. And all your friends is like, who's doing that? This is so funny. And then when someone realized it was me, they stopped caring because it wasn't one of their friends. They thought it was like another comedian. I had a secret mic in the back and I was just doing like falsetto the whole night along with other people.
And I loved it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Natalie Norman, you can find her online. You can stalk her online at Stalking Natalie. On social media, plural, probably.
Yes. I don't know.
Natalie, what a Verstinkene appearance this was. Thanks for doing the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, after the break, you are going to find out that because psychopaths feel less pain, they assume you do too. Maybe that's why they're such jerks and torture you and stuff. And when I say psychopathic, I mean the dark triad of psychological traits. We'll find out what those are and why, if you have a high pain threshold, you might want to pay attention to a few tips. Answers coming on the other side of the break.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644. The Last Show with David Cooper, where we apply quantum mechanical psychoanalytical astrotherapy to your problems.
Let's dig into those with psychopathic traits, sometimes called the dark triad of personality traits. It seems people who have them feel less pain and assume you do too. I'm here with someone whose study says that's perhaps why people with psychopathic tendencies can be, well, such jerks. Her name is Dimana Atanassova, and she's from the Donders Institute in the Netherlands. Dimana, thank you for talking to me today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with the basics. How do you define psychopathic traits, the so-called dark triad that I often hear about, but every time someone explains it to me, I then forget?
Yeah, so the way we define psychopathic traits is these are traits related to manipulativeness, lack of guilt, lack of remorse. In general, these people tend to be a bit more aggressive, impulsive, and in many cases, they also tend to be a bit more antisocial. So we see a lot of violent behavior, threatening behavior, exploitative behavior, stuff like that. So that's how we define it.
I was going to crack a joke and say that's how my ex-wife defines me, but then as you started explaining them, I'm like, okay, I'm not that bad. Why link these traits in individuals with their ability to feel pain? Why were you curious about this?
So what we know about people with psychopathic traits is that they really, beyond just being more aggressive and engaging in more violent behavior, they really struggle with empathy. So they can't really understand how others are feeling. And the theory that I had in mind when I started this study was, and one possible explanation could be that perhaps they're not really feeling the pain themselves. Sort of like if you don't feel that, stubbing your toe is everything, every pain that you feel in your life sort of feels like stubbing your toe on the corner of the coffee table, then you can't really understand why others would be so bothered by you being aggressive towards them.
It's kind of like being colorblind and not really understanding why an amazing piece of art that uses colors you can't see is amazing, or being tone deaf and not understanding why a symphony is so enjoyable. I think that's an interesting way to look at it. So what did you find when you started investigating this?
So what we looked at first was to understand whether those people with more psychopathic traits, are they feeling pain a bit less intensely than normal people do? And indeed, what seems to be the case is when you ask those people, and what I did in my study was I asked them to rate how painful various everyday scenarios would feel like. And then we used a bunch of laboratory measures to measure their pain sensitivity. And across the board, they really report pain as not feeling like a big deal. They're not really sensitive to pain. They don't think it's such a problematic thing.
You used electric shocks, pressure devices, and cold water that, so cold it could hurt somebody. Any study that involves those immediately I'm interested in. How do you get people to sign up for this?
Yeah, so when you put it like that, it does sound a bit like we are torturing them.
I mean, but if people are signing up,
Yeah, we actually had a lot of people interested in participating, which was great for us, but it is a bit of a, I think, red flag. However, I think for a lot of people, it is also kind of like a challenge. They want to challenge themselves and feel and see, are they more sensitive to pain? Are they, more tolerant of pain? Are they sort of like more, especially guys, they want to prove to themselves that they're a bit more macho in a way.
Yeah.
So it's no shortage of volunteers, which was great for us, interesting for society.
So lower pain sensitivity to electrical pain you found in people with these psychopathic traits. Why do you think electrical pain causes less of a, reaction in people like that?
So what I hypothesized and what my idea was is that so pressure pain and cold pain is something we run into on a daily basis.
So for instance, where I'm currently in the Netherlands, a lot of people take cold showers in the morning, and there is this whole tradition of taking really, really icy showers. So the sort of like the value that we assign to pain that we encounter on a daily basis is different than pain that is a bit more scary. So when you say electrical shocks, people are imagining this, again, like torture chamber with horrible electrical shocks. And I think in general, electrical pain is a bit different than pressure pain or cold pain, just because we assign a different value and we have different expectations for it. So it feels scarier.
Interesting. You suggest that people with psychopathic traits might assume others don't feel pain as they don't feel pain. Is that a form of empathy in a way? It's like, I think I'm like you. You wouldn't mind this, therefore I'll treat you badly. I don't know. I'm just trying to think why this might be.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea that we had in mind was exactly to test their empathy for pain as a, does it stem from their own lack of sensitivity to pain? Is it what makes them less sensitive to the pain of others? And we see this also across the board. I mean, other studies have also been done in the same field. And what we see is that this lack of empathy, this inability to empathize with others could be due to just not you yourself, not really imagining what pain would feel like for somebody else because you don't feel it that strongly.
And do your results confirm this theory?
Yeah. I mean, the way that we tested empathy in our study is a bit limited. So we just asked them to rate scenarios from their own perspective. So how painful do you think this would feel if you, for instance, cut your finger while cutting vegetables? And then we asked them to do the same, but imagine how painful it would feel for somebody else. So we specifically tried to get them to empathize, and we looked at how different the ratings were from the different perspectives.
I imagine someone listening to this right now thinks that they have a high pain threshold. They don't feel pain as others do. It might actually get them worrying. Am I a psychopath? Do you think it's possible to build empathy in someone who can't feel pain? Or are they doomed to have these negative traits?
I would definitely say it's not a doom scenario. It's not a fate thing. Because we do have people, for instance, people with chronic pain, they do tend to have, in some cases, really high pain tolerance and pain threshold, but we don't see them running around and committing crimes. I think what my study shows is that there is one pathway that could lead from you not feeling pain yourself or not thinking that pain is a big deal to perceiving the pain of others as being less serious and less severe. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you lack empathy or that you are going to just go off on a rampage hurting people.
Yeah. Often just talking about things that are problematic that we don't know about can help us. For example, if I've never had empathy to others because I have a high pain threshold, just understanding that others feel pain worse than me, can that help individuals who find themselves, I don't know, inflicting pain on others more than they might like?
Yeah, I think so. When we talk about psychopathy, we often talk about the fact that it's really difficult to rehabilitate those people, but sort of helping them understand that there is a different perspective than the current perspective that they have, I think it's a step in the right direction towards helping maybe reintegrate them better or rehabilitate them better or just reduce the amount of aggressive behavior that comes from them.
What else might you be interested in looking into in the future when it comes to psychopathy? There, I said it right, not psychopathy. Any other future research directions or any other questions that you're curious about that this study brings up?
I'm really interested in how do those differences in how we feel pain and how we empathize with others or whether we are more aggressive or not, what is their origins? What is the source of those things? And I'm really interested in the developmental roots of psychopathy. So why do some people end up becoming more psychopathic or developing those psychopathic traits? So this is something that I think is also quite important society-wise to understand what is sort of pushing some kids to develop more of those traits and become more aggressive compared to other kids. What are the factors and how can we intervene to help those kids before they've developed those dangerous for themselves and for others traits?
Interesting. So if I see my kid step on a piece of Lego and it doesn't hurt their foot, should I be worried? Should I try to intervene?
I think you should definitely ask your kid what's going on if that's the case, or maybe try and understand where they're coming from. But I wouldn't go as far as to say that if your kid is not really bothered by stepping on a Lego, then that's definitely them becoming a psychopath.
As I hear the words come out of your mouth, I realize how silly it is. Regardless, Dimana, I appreciate you talking to me about your study. Thanks so much.
Thank
you.
Dimana Atanassova is from the Donders Institute in the Netherlands. That's a wrap on the show. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. Details at www.lasho.pizza. That's lasho.pizza, not .com. If you want to take part in advice for your tomorrow self from yesterday, enter the time machine by calling 1-888-505-6644. That's 888-505-6644. That's all the info I have. I'm David Cooper. This is The Lash Show.